Good evening, everyone. Am I audible enough before I begin?
Yeah, in my case is figure 5.
Okay, great. Welcome everyone, and thank you for enrolling for the summer production vegetable farming. The summer, as you know, it's right around the corner, and it's quite profitable to, do your vegetable production in the summer, in the sense that by the time it's rain season or mid October, November, the prices do hike on the market. And this is due to how difficult it is to manage things like pest pressure, irrigation. A lot of farmers struggle with that. And then we have the small scale who depend on wells. So wells dry up. So this presents an opportunity if you're doing something a little more commercial or a little more medium scale. So before we get into all those details, this course is split into 3 sections. And today we're basically laying a solid foundation for what you'd need to expect, what you'd need to know to actually do this as a sustainable and as a viable business. So the first section is starting with the foundation for successful vegetable farming. So, knowing your numbers, land, and location actually play the most critical role in whatever you're going to grow and in whatever you're going to do as a vegetable farmer. So before you begin your farming, especially if it's vegetable farming, you need to know that it's just not a lifestyle. This is a business, and you need to handle it like a business. And many times there are people who will tell you start small, but small is relative. There are so many factors that you need to consider before you actually start small. So, like any business, the key to success lies in actual proper planning, data tracking, so keeping your records, and over time, as you keep records, you then understand market trends, you then understand how the market behaves when things perform better on the market. And because we've been doing this for quite some time, we do have data on which things perform better when to grow them when. And so we have even prepared a timetable for that. So and also making informed decisions. So data tracking and having all this information helps you make informed decisions. So the foundation of your planning or whatever you're going to decide to grow, because there are quite a number of vegetables that you can grow. So whatever you decide to grow starts with the numbers. It also starts with understanding the type of land that you have, where you are, and even most importantly, your location. Because to me, there are certain crops that don't make sense if your plan is to supply, for example, you live, maybe your farm is over 300 kilometers from the market and you want to grow things that are highly perishable,
yes, vegetables are perishable, but for example, things like your rep or yeah, your leafy vegetables which need consistent plucking, things like green beans where you'd have to be picking every other day, and then you're doing it on a relatively very small scale, factoring your transportation costs. So this is why it's so important to plan whatever you grow with your nearness, how near you are to your market. So numbers are the heartbeat of a farm business. So they give clarity, they reveal the truth, and they guide your decision making. So without knowing your numbers, it's very easy to overspend. So you could overspend in terms of labor. Maybe the piece of land that you have, you are employing too many people, and then you're overpaying them, and then you also not really knowing your numbers, you underperform because you don't even know the yield potential that can come out of your crop. And practically you just operate your business blindly because you're not really guided on anything. You're just going with whatever you feel like. So farmers who rely on guesswork often find themselves in debt. So you find that you're not making money most of the time, or you're producing at a loss because you're not really timing the market very well. Yes, quite all right. It's important to have a crop or certain crops that you're specialized in. But then again, you need to understand that our markets are very volatile in the sense that, especially vegetables, in the morning the price can be high, by the time it's afternoon it's low, or in the morning it's very low, by the time it's afternoon the price has hiked. So it's just very important to know your numbers and also understand your market. So knowing your farm size, for example, to help you determine how much fertilizer, how much seed you need, how much labor you need, because you don't want a situation where you're not utilizing your resources properly. So it also allows you to space your crops correctly and avoid overcrowding or resource wastage. You find that maybe your spacing is too big, you're planting less in a hectare, and then you're not getting the numbers and you're not getting the right output. So you have to understand the measurement of your land, whether it's square meters, hectares, or acres. This enables precision in whatever you're doing. So you follow measurements, you follow them to the latter. And one thing that I've come to realize is that beginner farmers who follow everything to the book do perform better than farmers who have sort of been in the game for a while, because sometimes when you feel like you've been doing certain things, you actually overlook certain things, and then you don't get everything right. So also what I was mentioning earlier, understanding market prices, price fluctuations, and what buyers are paying per kg or crate also helps you set achievable sales goals. So you should, for example, if you are going to if you are going growing a crop like green beans, knowing exactly how many kilograms you get per line, especially if it's your first pick, you weigh, okay, from a line that is 100 meters, we're able to get 35 kg. Is that 35 kg a reflection of all your 70 lines? Is it just a few lines that are performing better? So once you know exactly, even with tomatoes, how many fruits are you getting per plant? How many kgs is the tomato per plant? And once you understand these things, it helps you set achievable goals regardless of what it is. We had a situation where would pay for labor for green beans per crate, where we just say, okay, if they pick a crate, per crate it will be 7 kwacha 50 ngwe, something around that amount, 7 kwacha 50 to 10 kwacha. And we realized that there were some people who were not picking the beans, so it was getting wasted in the field. And then what we had to now switch to was weighing things per kilogram. And then we started charging whatever it was that they were picking per kilogram. And it helped us us have them pick even more, and then you realize you're not in a situation where you have wastage, even if you're harvesting from the field. And then you're able to identify people who aren't working very fast, those who work slowly, those who pick more kilograms. And then it also just, helps you reach your goals better. So sometimes understanding whatever you're trying to grow and just setting marks of whatever you want to do. And then also understanding market prices, it also helps protect you from being exploited by middlemen, because you're in a situation whereby sometimes you're at the market, you don't really know the prices. Someone will just tell you, no, it's being bought, tomato is being bought at, okay, no, tomato, maybe not tomato, because tomato, you hear them calling out prices. Maybe for vegetables, they're telling you, no, vegetables are going at 100 kwacha, when in actual sense, maybe it's 350 kwacha. So also knowing the prices, understanding the market helps you from being exploited by middlemen, or even panic selling. So you find that, yeah, panic selling because you feel like maybe there'll be a shortage or something will happen or you won't be able to sell. So these numbers enable you to prepare better for each season and make strategic choices. So really knowing your numbers, knowing what output you can get from whichever crop you decide to grow, just helps you realistically plan and know that you'll be able to sell at what price, what amount. And it just also helps you understand your crop, understand how you're performing, whether you're underperforming or whether there's room for improvement. And then actually the most important part is the farm location. The farm location really determines what you're going to grow. If I'm a farmer that's traveling over 500 kilometers to a market, I would prefer to grow crops which I'll harvest one off, so that that's practically, if it's one or two trips to the market, that makes more sense for me, and I'm moving volumes. So for example, think crops like onions, potato, these you're harvesting one off, cabbages. You look at another crop like watermelons, something that when you harvest, you're coming from very far. I'm making this trip to Lusaka, I'm making this trip to Kasumbalesa, whichever market you decide, and I'm doing it one off because you know your location. It won't make sense for you who stays so far away to be harvesting things like rape or things like tomatoes, and then the price crashes. A box is fetching at 10 kwacha, then you have to transport it. Then you're just like, is this even making sense? So, really, timing, your location, type of crop is everything. So, yes, your farm's location plays a huge role in determining your production, capacity, profitability, and market competitiveness. So many farmers really overlook this critical factor, but your geographical position can either give you an advantage or increase your risk exposure. So if you're closer to the market, it's also a very good advantage. You'll be able to um, spend less on transportation. You have access to so many different markets. People can easily come to your farm to buy from you. I feel like the less stressful sales are the ones which are on the farm, because once the produce leaves your farm, it's not in your hands. You're not thinking about transportation, you're not thinking about how the day will go the next day. But of course, prices are always a little lower on the farm. So it's more high risk if you're far away from the market, or sometimes it plays out to be an advantage. So you should start by analyzing your soil and climate suitability, Also know the rainfall pattern in your area, especially if you're going to do certain things. This is just a generalization. If you're going to do things during the rain season, that's something that you need to take note of. So you should also know um, when the rains begin and how long they'll last and how much rain you receive. So, for example, we know that closer to Lusaka, there's less rainfall. And then we also know that further down in the northern parts of the country, rainfall is better, it's earlier. So this helps you plan your planting calendar effectively, and you just avoid timing mistakes, and you also just have that plan. So check the type of soil on your land, have it tested for fertility and the pH, know your soil's acidity or alkalinity, and the types of crops that your land is able to grow, or what amendments that need to be made, which would either be liming your soils or composting your soils, which may be needed. And then you also have things like adding manure to your soils just to enrich your soils. And right now we're in a time where sustainable farming is very important in whatever you do. Even in your vegetable farming, ensure that you have things on your farm. So we'll go more into nutrient management in our next lesson, but really what's important is also water access. Do you have water on your farm? And even when you're choosing to buy land, I know we have a different demographic of farmers in here, some who are planning to start. But if you're on land where you see like very big trees, you'd know that okay, there is a good water table here. You can look at trees. Another really important thing for those who are planning on buying land, I would say buy your land in the rain season. You find there's someone who is selling land because it floods. It's not good land in the rain season, and then you can't really do much on it because it's flooded. It's a dumbo. So buying land in the rain season, at least you'd be able to know, okay, this land, at least there's good, drainage. So water access is crucial for your location. Vegetables also require, consistent watering, especially during germination, during the overall growth. If you don't irrigate your crop properly, you find that even pests attack it a lot. So in terms of flowering, fruiting stages, if you also don't water your crop well, it will abort its flowers, and then again you're at a loss. You're growing tomato, it's not giving you flowers. You're growing peppers, you're not watering it, you start losing your flowers. So your flowers are your fruit, and then you're losing it. So having access to reliable water source such as a borehole or a stream or a dam, it just gives you control over your irrigation and planting cycles. So having water will allow you to do your off-season farming, will allow you to target the market. It will just allow you to grow whenever you want to grow, whatever you want to grow. So during the hot season, there's a time where prices spike, and it's due to all the challenges, or by the time it's we're approaching the rain season, and if it's a crop like for example your cabbage, because of all the challenges you face during the hot season, you find that the prices spike, whereby people are buying cabbage at 45 kwacha, 50 kwacha. Those are certain things. Rep, there's a time rep or a bag was fetching at 450 kwacha, 500 kwacha. And this is all due to these things we're talking about: high pest pressure. Pests thrive in the hot season. Low water tables. All of these things are factors that affect prices. So distance to market affects how fast and how profitable you can sell your produce. A farm that is located near urban centers, roadside markets, or buyers has a better chance of minimizing cost, which I had mentioned, and also just reducing your post-harvest losses. because you don't want a situation whereby you have produce you're failing to transport and then you're losing it. Then conversely, a remote farm with poor road access may struggle to reach buyers on time. You have a breakdown, you can't transport your produce, people are complaining, those who are able to buy are saying the farm is too far, or because you don't have transport, you're hiring transport and it's so expensive. And then because someone told you, no, start with 1,000 cabbages, and then your farm is 300 kilometers away, and then from those 1,000 cabbages, maybe the price is 2 kwacha, but then your transportation cost is 3,000, and eventually you've made nothing. So that's why in the beginning we spoke of knowing your numbers, um, factoring all the things. Do you have transportation? Are you hiring transportation? All these things determine how profitable or how your business is running if your business will run at a loss. So numbers are just really the key in this game. So you also have to look at the lowest entry point for you to start that production. So all these factors vary from farm to farm to farm because of these things we're talking about: location, because someone who is farming, I'm farming about 60 kilometers from Lusaka. Now someone who is farming 10 kilometers from Lusaka, our transportation costs are different. So I wouldn't expect to grow less. You wouldn't expect me to grow less than the other one who is much closer. So even as we look at when you choose what to grow and your entry level, you have to factor your transportation costs as well. So labor availability is also another factor. I mean, you can buy beautiful farmland, big, 500 hectares, but if you have no labor available, no workers who will come to the location, will come to the farm, then it just doesn't make sense, because then it's easier if you're in already an established community where there's labor that is readily available, even if it's as piece labor, piece workers. So some areas have seasonal labor shortages, so especially during peak planting or harvest periods. So I can tell you that labor in my area becomes a headache during the rain season. I mean, people are tending to, they need to feed, they also need to feed themselves. So you'd expect that you won't have as much labor. So sometimes it's even better if you get labor from a little far away. They're staying on your farm, and then you're able to give them where to plant whatever their needs are for milling meal. They can plant within the farm, so that you don't have a situation where you don't have labor, your produce is ready, there's no one to harvest it. You are also, so we find ourselves during the rain season, there were points where, because we're short staffed with labor, you're also in the field, you're also harvesting. Whoever is in the house will just have to go into the field, because now you don't have enough labor. And then it's even worse if you are very far, and then people who are coming to work are coming from afar, and it just doesn't make sense. Then knowing the wage rates and availability of skilled or casual workers in your area helps you plan your workforce and avoid unnecessary delays. So knowing, okay, so for casual labor, what are the needs? What are the skills that these casual labor need to have? Maybe you just want people specific, you just need people to weed. Maybe you just need people to plant. Maybe you need people to harvest. For example, if you're running a pack shed, you would need people. Do these people know how to pack vegetables? So you'd have to start training them. They'd have to get used. If it's a crop like green beans, it takes a bit of time till someone is actually used. They'll be much slower. Their packaging damages, and then you find yourself training people. So sometimes you have to do the training, and then you also see what kind of supervisor or farm manager do you need to manage, whether if it's the vegetable garden, what exactly do you need? And then the legal and historical context of the farm. So every farmer must also understand the legal status of their land. Whether you can own that land. You find that you can't really own that land. You've gotten it somewhere, but it's under, a chief. You can't really own it. Are you going to lease it, or is it under traditional authority? So it's important that you have clear documentation. You don't want a situation where you're doing so much infrastructure on a place and then to be told that no, you can't keep this place. So if it means you having these title deeds, have these title deeds, lease agreements. I mean, leasing land is okay, especially if it's just their land to do rain-fed things. But if you're thinking of going into vegetable production, where it's almost commercial, you need to now start putting infrastructure like boreholes, tanks, you name it, irrigation, underground pipes. It's important that you just buy the land and ensure that it's yours. Whether you can push for titles for it, even better, so that that land is actually yours. So without documentation, or without there's certain, like for example a grant. Usually grants, they would want you to be an owner of the land. For most cases, especially if it's big grants, you need to own the land. They need to say, okay, this person actually owns this place. They're doing a valuation of your farm, valuation of your assets. They know that you do own this land. So it really helps with funding opportunities, even with a loan. It also helps. So knowing the history of the land is equally important. So what crops were grown, you can know on the land previously, if any, and what was the land left fallow, in the sense that was it just left, just to rest? Were there previous pests or disease outbreaks? That's also important, because you don't want a situation where you've planted something, high pest pressure or high disease pressure. Has the soil been overused? Where now you need to start nourishing your soils again. So really, the history helps you plan things like your crop rotation. It also helps you determine disease risk and just assess the soil nutrient status. And as a vegetable farmer, that's really what's important, the soil nutrient status. Know your soils, feed your soils. It's so easy to just, fertilizer is the quick fix for now, but um, in the actual sense, it's just short term. Sustainable practices would be incorporating things like your chicken manures, incorporating things like your compost. All of this is very important, so that you're building your soils. You have a healthy soil. When your soil is also healthy, it actually even helps reduce disease and pest pressure. Just like a human being, you need to be like, if you're in good health, you're healthy, even in terms of you getting unwell, it's lowered by far. So, conducting a soil test, preferably, every 2 years, or every season, or every cycle, or if you just see like your crop isn't really doing so well, you can do a soil test. So understanding of your land. So it just know the nutrient levels. Most importantly, how much nitrogen is in your soils, phosphorus, potassium, organic matter. And once you know all these things, if it's a fertilizer company that is doing your soil test, they'll be able to tell you, for the crop you want to grow, your soils have too much of this nutrient. So they'll be able to advise which fertilizers to use. If you see commercial farmers do precision farming, they get they literally get the best yields um in terms of what they grow, because they know exactly what is in their soils. They're not doing guesswork. They know what's in their soils. They know, okay, I'm going to go to Omnia and they're going to make me a fertilizer to be suitable for my soil to grow my maize, to grow my cabbage, to grow my potatoes. And you're not doing just like blanket recommendations where they tell you to grow maize, 4 bags compound D, 4 bags urea. I mean, these things, they're just estimates, and even fertilization plans, they're just a guide. But really, what tells you what your soil needs is the soil test, because it's so precise. And that's exactly what will help. So even understanding what different nutrients do for your crop or what they do will help you know how best you can manage your crop. So we're now going to look at creating a strong business orientation. So your vegetable farm must be treated like a business if you want it to grow. So this means operating with a clear vision, defined goals, and reliable data. So do not just farm because the land is available. Farm because you know what you want to achieve. So, for example, if your target is you are going to grow assorted vegetables, your target market is the hotels, restaurants, and you're going to say that you'll be supplying these places every week, and you're going to grow so many different assorted crops. To the point that they can almost order almost everything and anything: onion, tomatoes, if it's cherry tomatoes, if it's potato, if it's cabbage, rep. You've decided to do assorted things so that you can cater for that kind of market. Or you can treat it like, okay, I'll focus on one thing, do it very big, stagger my production in a sense that I'll be consistently supplying the market over this period of time to cater for, if to cater for the time that there's a shortage on the market. Or if you just want to be in this niche, regardless of you making a loss, you're still on the market, you're still growing the crop. Maybe you slightly reduce when the prices drop, and then there's something else that you're selling so that you're able to balance it out. Those are other factors that you can think of. So ask yourself, how much profit do I want to make from each crop cycle? What do I want to what market do I want to supply? Is your target market the open market? If it's the open market, you have to know that it's not going to be easy because of the price fluctuations. Is your target market where the marketeers come to buy on your farm? Is your target market, so these are things that you can start thinking about for whatever you're going to grow. Is your target market the chain stores? I mean, there are so many different stores you can visit. We have the Cheers, we have Choppies, we have Shoprite is a little difficult to enter into, but we have the Pick and Pays. We have these small grocery stores. Are these your target markets? Are these if for people who are based in, for example, Lusaka, Makeni, the Lebanese community, there's so many different stores. They have outlets, they have restaurants. Is this your target market? So really understanding who you want to supply, and also understanding your customer needs at that particular time is important. And that's why market research, that's why having reliable data, record keeping. I'll share the link. There is a group where they are just update us with daily market prices, and you're able to see the trend in the cold season. Right now, rep is not performing very well on the market. It's only now where it's gotten to 80 kwacha. But in these previous weeks, 40, 30 for a 50 kg bag. But where we are going in summer, rep will even hit 450, 350, 500. So really understanding these things. So do I keep financial and production records? So just because you're starting and it's small and you say, no, I don't need to keep records, keeping your records is very important. Because even if people want to give you a grant, people want to give you money, you have no records, how will they know that a business was operating? Because anyone can say they were doing business, but you have to have these records. So, could I present my farm to a loan officer or a business partner confidently? So, without these records, you wouldn't even be able to confidently say, oh, around this time, this is how much we made. During this quarter of the year, we hit our financial we set targets, so you can actually have targets that this is how much I'm going to make, I'm going to plant x amount, I'm going to ensure that at least my production cost is about this much, the minimum I should sell is this much, so that at least you know where you're moving and where you're going. So, a well structured farm with clear records, structured planning, and clear production targets stands a better chance of attracting buyers and assessing finance and scaling sustainability. Because once you have all these records, you know that, okay, this is not making money for us. Let's pull out of this. This is making money for us. How do we scale this at a time where it's performing better? So knowing your numbers and understanding your location is not optional, it's essential. So it's essential for building a bankable business, a business that you know, okay, this is going to make money for me. So farming without these fundamentals is like building a house without a foundation. So a farmer who understands their costs, their yield potential, their market access, and their legal standing is a farmer who is ready for growth, investment, and long term success. So, long term success really depends on the foundation that you build for whatever you're doing. So, your farm must be guided by facts, not feelings, and your profits begin with preparation. So for you to make profits, it's because you've been preparing for it. It's not like it's not a mistake that you made money. It's not a mistake that things worked out. It's because you are following systems and you're following things that worked for you. So, vegetables during the hot season requires deliberate and well-structured planning to manage environmental stress, because it's very stressful. You have to increase your watering times, meaning if you are watering with Genset or you're using Zesco, obviously your bills are going to be much higher because your crop will need more water because of environmental stress. And another thing is you have to ensure there's consistent water supply, not a situation where water levels drop, you can't water nicely, or maybe you've grown a very big field, but your water source is not sufficient, but because you really wanted to push the numbers, so grow what you can really manage with what resources you have available and do it properly so that you reduce the risk. So farmers must begin with a clear understanding of their goals and their available resources and environmental conditions. So all of these are very, very key and critical in terms of however you're going to plan for your vegetable farming. So planning begins with selecting suitable crops so that withstand high temperatures. Yes, that's important and mature quickly. But the riskier it is the time you want to grow it, the more profitable it is. However, you have to be sure you would be able to manage it, because during the hot season, you're on your toes, you're trying to manage pest, you're trying to manage your water, you're trying to ensure that your crop is watered well. It's not, being infested with pests. You now become a farmer that looks like you don't know what you're doing, because that's what happens. You're failing to manage. You just look like, yeah, a confused farmer. So once a crop is chosen, you determine the scale of your production based on your land availability, water resources, labor capacity, access to market, and then you now start your cropping calendar carefully. So you start planning, okay, around this time, this is what we're growing. After this, we're going to take this out. And when you miss a planting window as a farmer, you miss the window to grow something. By the time it's harvest time, you find that you enter when the price on the market drops. So timing is very critical. And we're even going to talk about cabbage production. And cabbage production. If you manage it very well, you'll be smiling. If the window, and I'll talk about the window more where we're going. But when you follow your planting windows, you then understand how critical it is that if you just mess up by 2 weeks, you're almost gone because you find the market crashes because you just didn't didn't follow through what you had planned. So it's important if you set that we are planting, the latest date we should plant whatever we're going to plant is 5th September. Anything after that, we are, we are gambling. So it's essential to plan the cropping calendar carefully, scheduling necessary establishment. If you're buying seedlings or you're ordering seedlings, order them in time so that it aligns with your planting date. Prepare your field in time. It aligns with your planting date. Not that you haven't prepared your field, or because you heard that there's money in this crop, now you're phoning for seedlings, but they're telling you seedlings will be only ready in 1 month. You've delayed by 1 month. You plant, the market crashes, and then you're in a mess and you're losing your money. So, really timing is everything. So, planting, fertilizing, harvesting around expected weather patterns and market demand. All of these just help you plan better. So planning in project planning in vegetable farming involves, setting clear objectives, mapping all your activities, and just allocating clear timelines. Set very, very clear timelines on when tasks need to be done and creating systems. So farmers should develop a detailed production plan. So your land preparation schedule should be, in line with your planting date. Your crop selection matrix, considering market demand, climate resilience, maturity period, you have that in place. Resource mapping. So this is your inputs. Are these seeds going to be available at this time when I want to buy them? You don't want to be in a situation where you're a maize farmer, you're buying seed last minute, you're not finding the seed. Others are trying to exploit you by selling the seed even higher when you could have actually bought that seed in good time to plant in good time. So, really, just having all these things available. So, your inputs, your human capital, ensuring it's available. You don't want a situation where you decide to grow a crop that needs labor, where you need men to be, I mean, even women use the knapsack sprayers, but you don't want a situation where you only have the labor available is only people who can weed and people who can plant, and then you don't have anyone to do things like your spraying. So ensure that all your labor needs are met. So project estimates, projecting quantities of each input and timing of expenses. So with whatever you want to grow, you need to understand, okay, I'm going to grow tomato a hectare. Tomato in a hectare, I need 20,000 plants. So you kind of know, okay, 20,000 plants, a seedling costs 2 kwacha. So that's 40,000 on seedlings. Fertilizers, I'm going to need, if it's 15 bags for my basil dressing, how much is it going to cost? So having all of those things known. So projecting quantities of each input, timing of expenses. Sometimes you will not have all your money readily available. So for example, maybe you have money to start up the project. Then again, maybe you're in informal employment. You know, okay, by the time it's this month end, I would have been able to pay for this the next seed or the next dose of chemicals. So you're kind of able to time your expenses. So your production calendar, very important. Then you also do a risk contingency plan. So risk management, very key. you assess the risk and then you come up with a management plan, because anything on a farm, I mean anything can go wrong on the farm, literally anything. You grow a crop nicely, it just decides that today will be a hailstorm. You grow something nicely, something just Zesco decides that last time Zesco went for almost 1 week, you have no power for an entire week, and then you don't have a management plan and you've lost your crop. Or a disease comes, it wipes your entire field. 2016, my mom used to grow a lot of tomatoes. She was actually the first person who discovered Tuta absoluta in Zambia. She lost a hectare of tomatoes. You can imagine this field is almost ready. It wiped her field. Within a week, she lost a hectare of tomato. So sometimes some risks you can't really know. Who would have known that there would be a pest outbreak that would come through the border through potatoes? No one would have ever thought of that risk. So these are things that happen. So plan for, how to manage an unexpected drought, pest outbreaks, or labor shortages. So this structured approach helps farmers visualize the farming season from start to finish. So you know that, okay, we are entering the hot season. What could go wrong? Maybe your pump breaks down. What could go wrong? Maybe you don't have enough water. So what would you do in that sense just to manage that risk? We know that, okay, there will be high pest pressure. What are we going to do? We're going to ensure that we have enough crop protection, enough chemicals. We're going to follow a pest management, a pest management plan. So planning for all these things is very key. So water needs assessment. Water is the most critical factor. So assess the water source available. Is it enough? You determine, is it sufficient to meet the needs? You don't want a situation where you decide to plant 6 hectares, but you only have you decide to plant 6 hectares. Yeah, depending on this small borehole with a small pump, your crop is drying, but because you really wanted to do something. So ensure that whatever you do is sufficient. So strategies such as mulching, using things like mulch where you add grass, can help you reduce, the heat stress. So in the hot season, using grass to mulch, just, once you've watered, at least you're keeping the soil moisture. Keep that in mind. And also, using watering cans or drip. Watering cans would be if it's like a much, much smaller field, but drip helps, manage water. It's dripping, you're saving water, it's dripping right on the point. I mean, sprinklers are also very great in the hot season because they deter the pests. They confuse, especially the flying pests, they confuse them. So if you have sprinklers in the hot season, these are great because they help with managing pests. But you also know that they also waste water because water will be dropping where it's not needed. So you can also think of having a reservoir in the sense that you're pumping water into there, and then from the reservoir, you can then pump into different fields. You can actually put in maybe two smaller pumps in your reservoir. If it's a big reservoir, you put two smaller pumps and it's taking water to different fields. Whilst if it's your borehole, it's pumping into another field, then your reservoir is full. So you just plan a schedule around that, and then that works for you. So farmers should calculate approximate daily water needs per plant. You find that usually it's 4 to 6 liters per day for medium-sized vegetables. So plan accordingly. And then, like I mentioned, risk management during the hot season, heat stress, your crop is stressed, pest outbreaks, and then farmers must, a risk mitigation strategy that includes, the mulching. Maybe you have a shed so that you can grow your things inside the shed. And then also just do your pest scouting, disease scouting. It should be regular. Have someone go in the field. We'll actually cover how to manage diseases properly on the farm so that someone isn't spreading a pest or a disease. 2021, we planted a field of beans. The worker was spreading the beans as he was spreading red spider as he was watering the crop. So you can imagine he's moving from diseased crop to undiseased crop, spreading red spider. Red spider, once it enters your field, it's hot. You're not irrigating well. And then because lack of moisture, that becomes it's multiplying very rapidly. You find that within a week, that crop which was looking nice looks like someone sprayed weed killer and burnt it. So red spider, Sefa, this diamondback moth, your aphids, hot season, that's their time to shine. So you just have to make sure that you're able to manage these. You find that that's the time where they're now attacking your field. So yeah, just ensure you have everything, you have all the labor that you need, because there are times, like I mentioned earlier, you find rain season, no labor, people are working. And now the challenge we're also having is that with these money for what do they call it, this government program where people are working for I don't know how many days, it's also sort of distorting labor because they know that, oh, in 10 days I can make a 600. You're losing labor, so you have to now see how do we work around this situation, especially with the labor needs on your farm. So labor plans must take into account of peak periods. So if you are like full swing into harvest season, your labor demand goes up. So you need to know that, okay, I need to source labor. You start organizing people that, no, this is a very busy time for us. We are planting or we are harvesting. Harvest days are very busy days for us. When we used to do a lot of packaging, you find that we have 30 women in the pack house. We're trying to pack, pick, ensure everything is transported. So during peak times, you find that demand for your labor goes up. So ensure that during those times you have labor, not where they're calling you for an order. Now you're switching off your phone or you're not answering phone calls because you don't have labor. In our area, and I'm sure in most areas, those who are already farming, if there's a funeral, no one is going to come and pack, and you can't do anything about it. It should be we have a ShopRite order, but there's a burial on Wednesday. We're not going to pack because no one is going to show up for work. And that's that. And so these are some of the things, especially if you're farming in rural communities. You just have to understand that this is how people live. This is just their way of life, how they live. So rain season, we know that, okay, we have to sort of reduce on these crops where we constantly have to pick like rape, because we know that we won't have labor. People are weeding their fields, people are planting their own maize. They'll only maybe spare time for me sometimes. So that's where you know, okay, now I should focus more on other things. It depends on the kind of labor or the kind of people that you're surrounded, but those are things that you need to know. So yeah, so in terms of, I think we've already spoken about this input planning and procurement, just making sure you buy things in advance, then also get from good companies. If it me Sometimes, agro dealers, you find that there are fake seeds that are circulating on the market, fake fertilizers. Sometimes just go to the actual outlet or to the main people, or just trusted shops, so that you're not shortchanged, or you're not given something that you're not that is not okay for whatever you want to do. Then, in terms of, okay, we spoke of crop protection, the scout, go in the field, and also doing integrated pest management, disease management, because now let's look at sustainable farming. How do we manage our soils so that even the next generation, it's generational things we're trying to do, they can still farm from the land. They can still feed themselves from this land years and years to come. So we have to think of protecting our environment, very key, protecting our soils, and we just follow through. So we do have a lesson on detailed crop protection. So these lessons are not going to be broad to it will open up your mind to how you can do crop protection for a wide range of crops, and not just limited to, if I just tell you this is exactly what you're going to spray, but it will be the foundation where you will know that these are the kind of chemicals I should look for because of this kind of pest. And then you can do a little more research if you need to. So proper records help farmers assess what works, what doesn't work, and then keeping track of seed sources. When you keep track of whatever seed you've been growing, this seed from this company didn't do so well. The yields from this company, or this one delayed to mature. So it affected when we are offloading on the market. It affected our harvest time. So when you keep records, you actually know that, okay, this seed that I did was actually good. And then planting dates, irrigation schedules, input application. So whenever we spray a chemical, we know that, okay, on such and such a day we sprayed. So you have records of that. You have records of your planting dates. Also key, any pest issues, your harvest volumes. So just monitor all of these things so you can detect a challenge anywhere you're able to assess and know. And then market planning and access. So planning is essential for running a vegetable enterprise. So always just identify your potential buyers early. Even the traders, you go to marketeers, oh, you buy this crop, or you are targeting let's say you want to be supplying import. You see, okay, who are the people that buy import here? What, like, they can even give you some form of market intelligence. So understanding market preferences, variety, size. Marketeers won't want very large tomatoes, because when they tantika on their stands, when they put them on their stands, they know that because they are bigger ones, they're going to make less money. So even as you grow some of these things, don't grow over big. If your target market is Soweto, or the small traders, grow medium to small, so that when they are selling, they have more to put, whether they're going to put two of them, two tomatoes and a big one, or two small ones and a big one. So just ensure that whatever you're growing, know who it is for. And then that just helps you. So timing harvests to coincide with periods of high demand obviously increases profits. This is something that we've been talking about. So farmers may consider collective marketing through cooperatives. Maybe you and your neighbor decide, okay, we're going to grow this on a larger scale. A group of people around you, and when you have volumes helps you even dominate in terms of prices. You have more power with volumes as a cooperative, as so or selling directly to local markets to reduce dependency on middleman. You can just say, like, okay, some of the things I'm going to be selling, I will be selling them directly to the farmer, or I will be selling them directly to not sorry directly to the consumer, which will mean it will take you a little longer to offload whatever you're growing. And that's okay for people who are closer to the markets. You can sell directly to the customers, meaning you spend almost the whole day in the market. Or maybe you allocate produce which is specific, that, okay, this quantity will sell on wholesale, this quantity will sell on retail. So this just helps you manage all these things. So regular market visits, this helps networking with buyers, which helps improve access and negotiating